Prior to my trip to Europe to film my spaghetti western, I appeared in a number of Nestle ads as Captain Quick, a satire on James Bond. For an undisclosed project in 1967, Adam West donned the Batman outfit for the final time. In London, he recorded a scene that has since vanished. 50 years and more. It had never been seen by any American fan. Not even the most die-hard Batman fans were aware of its existence. No one remembered the footage since it was stashed away in British archives. Then, in 2018, it was discovered while someone was looking for forgotten television past. Adam West's shocking statement in that moment that never was stunned spectators. This new information demonstrated that even well-known superheroes have shadow sides. Ed Graham Productions acquired the rights to create a Batman television series in 1964. A simple Saturday morning trip had to be planned. Something similar to the 1950s CBS children's show The Adventures of Superman. An NFL linebacker named Mike Henry, who would later play the role of Tarzan, was to play the role of the first live-action Batman on television. After weeks of negotiations, CBS was almost ready to sign the deal in 1965. The show was never taken up by the network. The character's future in popular culture could have been severely damaged if the plan had been approved, and Batman would have become a mild children's show. Everything fell through right before production was about to start when Henry quit the project to play Tarzan. The world was never introduced to a Saturday morning Batman because of that failure. However, it did pave the way for the subsequent primetime adaptation, which became a global phenomenon. At Hugh Hefner's Chicago Playboy Mansion, an unforeseen event occurred that very year. All 15 episodes of the classic 1943 Batman serial were shown by Hefner. Many famous people and socialites were in attendance. From the outside, it appeared to be nothing more than a sentimental celebration, but it sparked an unanticipated cultural backlash. The audience got into character, cheered for the heroes, booed the bad guys, and yelled at the television. The screenings were reported by several sites, including the New York Times, which noted the crazy atmosphere. Executives in the Hollywood industry started to discover a different side to Batman. The long-forgotten serial has regained its popularity. The fact that Hefner's party went on and included Batman's extravagant style demonstrates that people were open to it. The figure may still be buried in a dusty film reel if that had never happened. Columbia Pictures capitalized on the interest in the 1943 serial by combining it into a single 4.5-hour film titled An Evening with Batman and Robin in 1965. The play swiftly made its way from Chicago's Playboy Theater to Artus cinemas and college towns after its premiere. Midnight showings and snacks were sold out in theaters due to the large number of attendees. Achieved unprecedented levels of sales. Some cinemas even showed 7 chapters on Saturday and 8 on Sunday, spreading the screenings out over 2 days. According to reports, there were queues that wrapped around the block as fans arrived dressed as characters. Colombian officials were taken aback by the accomplishment, which captured ABC's interest. The story was told plainly by the numbers. An enormous audience could watch Batman. Thanks to those reports and ticket sales, the network is now considering greenlighting a live-action Batman series. When this was happening, Yael Udolph suddenly became the center of attention, a young executive at ABC. From the time he was a little boy, Udolph loved Batman. His conviction that the persona belonged on television was further strengthened after witnessing the audience's reaction in Chicago. At each gathering, he started to promote the notion, up to yelling, "We ought to do Batman," in the direction of his superiors. Udolph persisted even when they laughed him off. He created a comprehensive pitch for a chic series that drew inspiration from UNLV's The Man and James Bond. His tenacity became renowned. While flying around the nation, a few high-ranking ABC executives confessed to secretly reading Batman comics, which they concealed in business magazines. Ultimately, ABC was persuaded to take the risk by Udolph's unwavering resolve. After William Dozier was brought on board as he made an unexpected admission in 1966 while working as a producer. Comic books were completely new to him. After much deliberation, he decided that the Batman issues he had obtained for investigation were too bizarre to be taken seriously. devices such as shark-repelling bat. He came to the conclusion that comedy was the only way forward after reading stories of Batman surfing against the Joker and Spray. He decided to make the show a campy imitation instead of just replicating the comics. At an era when humor was permeating American culture, it was a daring choice. A wide range of artists, from Andy Warhol to the end product, was completely unlike anything you'd see on TV, much like Lichtenstein's comic book-inspired paintings. Colorful outfits, over-the-top villains, and the rapid-fire use of terms like pow and bam were hallmarks of the genre. Dozier's strategy was successful. Upon its January 1966 debut, Batman got famous overnight. The idea that Dozier had was not universally accepted. Originally, the series' debut script was supposed to have been written by renowned espionage novelist Eric Amler for a full-length Batman film. To the contrary, his reaction upon hearing that Dozier intended to transform the character. He abandoned the project once it had turned into a pop art comedy. Amler, who was famous for serious thrillers, shied away from sarcasm. His abrupt departure demonstrated how out of the ordinary Dozier's proposal was. When a writer in Hollywood disagreed with the direction of a major project, it was unusual for him to back out. One more turning point was casting. There were 2 full-screen tests shot in 1965. On one, you could see Burt Ward and Adam West. Peter D.L. played Robin, and Lyle Wagner was Batman in the other. Wagner held the role of better option. He had the look that executives were hoping for and was already famous in Hollywood. But West was practically unknown. It was West and Ward who managed to capture the eccentric, campy spirit that Dozier was going for when the test film was compared side by side. The studio rejected the more established star in favor of taking a risk. Wonder Woman and The Carol Burnett Show were among Wagner's other successful television appearances. West and Ward, however, were the ones who truly gave Batman and Robin their own unique personalities. Particularly implausible was Adam West's route to the part. After appearing in a brief commercial for Nestle, he caught the eye of the producers. He demonstrated his ability to deliver outlandish words with a straight face in that ad with his deadpan delivery. Dozier knew right once that this was the perfect tone for the program. Despite competition from larger actors, West was ultimately chosen to play Batman because of his ability to strike a balance between seriousness and humor. He signed the contract on September 21, 1965. His performance was outstanding because of its unusual blend. Meanwhile, in 1966, Burt Ward was cast as Robin. He was 20 years old when this happened, yet the character took place while the author was a high school student. People thought Ward was at least 15 or 16 years old based on his youthful appearance. In the first 5 days of filming, he ended up in the hospital 4 times due to the antics he performed behind the scenes. Injuries demonstrated the extent to which he gave his all to the part. His agility and boundless enthusiasm made him the ideal choice to play the role, though fans argued over his actual age for years. Veteran stage performers bolstered the performances of the 2 leads. Born in 1903, Alan Napier was a relative of former Neville Chamberlain, the Prime Minister of Britain, played Alfred. Napier, a graduate of London's Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, had been performing since the 1920s and joined the Batman cast in 1966 at the age of 63. Playing Commissioner Gordon, Neil Hamilton had a lengthy resume that included roles in silent films and dramatic performances. Their humble origins provided a somber counterpoint to the vibrant mayhem unfolding around them, helping to ground the event. Psychiatrist Frederick Wareham wrote and published Seduction of the Innocent in 1954. There he asserted that startled readers and swiftly went national. There was a psychological homophobia in Batman stories, according to Wareham. He brought up the fact that Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson shared a home, didn't have any female guests, and were occasionally seen lounging together. Using specific examples of lads, he informed him that wanted to be Bruce Wayne's permanent residence. The comic was a wish dream of 2 gays cohabitating, according to Wareham. At the height of the Lavender Scare in the 1950s, his theories resonated with broader worries of the time. Even after finishing the book, the accusations persisted. For years, It hung over Batman like a cloud. Even when the Batman TV series exploded in popularity in the 1960s, its creators and performers were understandably wary that a small plot point could reignite the issue. Attention was given to every detail, including conversation, clothes, and plots, leading many to conclude that Batman was one of the most socially conscious children's television series of its era. In 1967, an article titled "The Whisper Campaign Against Batman and Robin" appeared in a magazine called TV Radio Album, revealing the underlying tensions. Just 2 pages made up the entire thing, whereas the remainder of the display replete with images of the superheroes in their costumes. But the words it used were significant. The relationship allegations surrounding Batman and Robin, as well as Adam West and Burt Ward, were discussed in a mainstream journal for the first time. Despite the article's denial of asserts, it had sneaky analogies as well. Though both of them must have heard the whispers like Liberace some years ago, they are doubtless laughing all the way to the bank. This line was a playful reference to the legendary pianist Liberace, who in the 1950s had sued newspapers for slandering his homosexuality and had joked about sobbing his way to financial success. Took $8,000, about $22,000 in today's dollars, in damages to the bank. The magazine seemed to ignore the rumors about him, but in reality, it was just feeding them by mentioning him. As a public flashpoint for discussions about sexuality and television during that time, it demonstrated how far the whispers had progressed. The remarks against Liberace were not made in jest. They exposed the writer's use of cryptic language and cunning illusions to bring up the matter without laying blame directly on the reader. Knowing that readers would make the connections, the TV Radio Album essay relied on this method. According to the essay, the Batman stars were joking around, savoring their stardom and disregarding the rumors, just like Liberace. The allegations, however, were serious business for the show's creators. Sponsors and the series' target demographic, families, might be turned off by the very mention of homosexuality. They were afraid. Executives from ABC rushed to the rescue. As a result, they decided to alter certain scenes to highlight Batman's clear interest to female characters. An especially glaring instance of this is when Batman explains to Robin that the initial surges of manhood were the source of his attraction to attractive supervillains. It was intentional, yet the line was forceful. Even though it seemed out of place with the campy atmosphere of the program, writers from that point on frequently had Batman expressing interest in women. It was an intentional ploy to make the sponsors and viewers feel better about the caped crusader's sexual orientation. There was more to the campaign than just the scripts. Studio publicists were hard at work painting Adam West and Burt Ward in an unmistakably male light. Their children, marriages, and karate practices were featured prominently in magazines and press kits. Their pastimes and exercise routines were also portrayed as indicators of their manliness. The players and the network were under immense pressure, and their nearly frantic effort reflected that. Even in the 1960s, a single rumor had the potential to ruin an entire star's career. The performance itself, meanwhile, started having issues unrelated to rumors. When Batman first appeared on television in January 1966, he became an overnight hit. Its February peak viewership was 14 million, accounting for an incredible 42% of those who will be watching. The thrill, however, was short-lived. Wednesday night programs barely remained in the weekly top 20 by March 1966 due to a precipitous decline. Memos from the period revealed that ABC had acknowledged in its meetings that the formula's initial appeal was waning. This is becoming old. The term Batman fatigue started circulating. There was a complete breakdown by the time summer of 1966 rolled around. A few short months ago, Batman had ranked among the nation's most watched television series. Unfortunately, a story from the Associated Press published on August 11th revealed that the show's ratings had plummeted and Batman had fallen off the list of most popular shows. Products were moving off the shelves, but nobody was watching. The summer months often see a decline in network traffic, but this was significantly worse than expected. The trend that had an impact on clothing styles and slang has long since been obsolete. It was thought that the 1966 Batman film would reignite the interest. The company had high hopes for the film's success and invested heavily in its marketing. But instead, the picture made a meager $1.7 million at the box office. Although studio insiders had predicted a hit closer to 200% in terms of box office take, it only managed 122% in 20 major cities. Although ticket sales were good, the film itself was a financial loss. The disappointment came as a blow to 20th Century Fox and ABC, who had hoped the picture would prolong the business. The ratings painted a bleak picture when Season 2 premiered in September 1966. Following a precipitous decline from its earlier that year peak of number 5, Batman fell to an average of number 34th among all television shows. Even the top 40 were visited by a few instances. It didn't help that new bad guys like Catwoman and the Archer were introduced. The cast members were visibly distressed about the possibility of cancellation as the figures showed that the magic had worn off. Surprisingly, there wasn't even an American TV episode from 1966 that was considered restricted Batman content. It originated in London in May 1967, when Adam West filmed a traffic safety message for youngsters in Britain while dressed as Batman. Nobody had viewed this tape for over half a century. Even the most die-hard Batman fans in the US were unaware of its existence. During a 2018 effort to recover the top 100 missing television clips from the United Kingdom, the archive group Kaleidoscope uncovered the film, bringing it back to light. Most people thought it was lost forever since it had never been screened outside of Britain until then. In cases where, when it was finally shown to the public in 2018, it was like unearthing a long-lost artifact from the history of superheroes and British popular culture. In the video, The Dark Knight uses his celebrity status to educate kids about the curb drill, which is similar to the regulations of the road in Britain. Adam West stands on a peaceful street and tells kids that crossing the street is a daily risk that can kill them. He shows the procedures with an air of collected authority. Cross only when it is safe to do so. Before doing so, stop at the curb and look both ways. Unlike any other actor, he completely immerses himself in the role of Batman, skillfully fusing the American superhero stereotype with British safety tips. The film's 2018 rediscovery served as a potent reminder that even the most popular series can lose track of their history, since it went undiscovered for decades. On April 14, 2018, Birmingham City University hosted the premiere for the general audience. The premiere ushered in the first phase of finding 100 long-lost TV classics, including Doctor Who and Avengers episodes, was Kaleidoscope's mission across the country. Experts and die-hard fans alike showed out to the event, and many were surprised to hear that Batman had been in a long-forgotten road safety flick. The rediscovery demonstrated the critical. There is still media out there, stashed away in private collections and archives, just waiting to be discovered. Leslie Gore, the musician, was also connected in another mystery aspect of Batman's past. In the January 25, 1967, two-part episode, Scat Darn Catwoman, she played the role of Pussycat, Catwoman's sidekick. She sang Maybe Now and California Nights while the story unfolded. No one has ever explained why Maybe Now disappeared from American reruns, yet California Nights stayed. A collaboration with her brother Michael Gore, the song served as the flip side to her 1. Behave Like a Lady. U.S. cable reruns and MeTV airings removed the performance, however it was remained included in some prints and international broadcasts. One of the most perplexing mysteries surrounding the show has become the disappearing number, which many spectators were unaware ever existed. Additionally, the contentious occasion involving Commissioner Gordon. In one adaptation, Alfred uses bat sleep spray to put him to sleep in the Batcave, where Batman takes him, so he will not remember the hero's true identity. The gassing was either cut out or altered by certain syndications, solely because the filmmakers were apprehensive about depicting a drugged police commissioner, even in a comedic setting. The significance of Gordon's visit to the Batcave was minimized in alternative accounts. The changes demonstrated how even comedic TV had to be careful with its content, particularly when millions of kids were watching. During the Batman era, there were a lot of offbeat stories that didn't originate on film. Aspen, Colorado barred Adam West from the town for 15 years in the late 1960s due to an infamous party that got out of hand. Yes, he did eventually admit to drinking. No. Yes, the police. Back then, he was said to be a real-life horror movie star. Although no criminal charges were ever brought, others asserted that the ban was a result of noise complaints and property damage. Officials in Aspen confirmed West's ability to return in a letter he received precisely 15 years later. Incidentally, it solidified. He was known for being more than simply a superhero on TV. West and Burt Ward's nightlife became almost as legendary off-camera as their fights with Gotham's criminals. In retrospect, Ward did acknowledge that they frequently saw enthusiastic fans while dressed as their characters. Readers and the show's producers were both embarrassed and surprised by the experiences he detailed in his book. Moreover, he asserted that he had jumped into the dirt from a motel window in order to evade an envious spouse. These stories fueled the speculation about the celebrities, while West himself, contending that Ward inflated numerous of them. Network management were concerned that the show's family-friendly image could be jeopardized due to the talk, which further strained their working relationship. The mystique of the show was enhanced even by their co-stars. Joker actor Cesar Romero was known for his unpopular decision to keep his beard, facial hair. Instead, for all 120 episodes and the 1966 feature, the makeup artists painted thick white over it. Because even in close-ups, the pale outline can be made out, Romero's Joker is a memorable performance. An act of egotism quickly escalated into a major, discussed peculiarities among all Batman films. In real life, the actors frequently led lives that mirrored their characters' wild ones on screen. Both West and Ward claim that after they became famous, there were incessant parties with lots of drinking, late hours, and attention. The parties could go on until the break of dawn, which meant that performers would be exhausted when filming and that makeup artists would have to work overtime to keep them appearing fresh. According to eyewitnesses, the mayhem that went on off-camera would sometimes outstrip the weekly wild escapades. There is still the 1960s Batman, forever linked to the innumerable untold tales that encircled it, in addition to its vibrant action sequences and cheesy humor. An episode of the Batman TV series was requested from the renowned science fiction writer Harlan Ellison in 1966. Two-Face, the tragic villain, was someone he decided to utilize. Despite being one of Batman's most notorious foes, he was never featured in the series. The Two-Way Crimes of Two-Face were Ellison's title for his narrative. It was both frivolous and campy, fitting the show's style, but with a sinister undercurrent that made it unique. Actor Clint Eastwood. The series would have benefited greatly from the addition of Eastwood, who was even considered for the role. Contrarily, Ellison's pitch showed up that very day. There was going to be a high-profile departure from ABC. That timing, together with the behind-the-scenes dynamics, failed to pass muster. For over half a century, Ellison's files included the notion. In 2014, DC at last gave fans a taste of what may have been by adapting it into a comic book called Batman 66, The Lost Episode. The show also put a lot of resources on developing as the titular character in the 1966 film and television series. Glastron designed and manufactured the unique boat, which is jam-packed with eye-catching features. It was a first in the film, but shooting on water was incredibly expensive. Every scenario necessitated specialized tools, additional crew, and additional safety precautions, which can raise the cost of a shot by several $1,000s. Due to its high price tag, makers were stingy with the Batbow, and it ended up in storage. It served as a constant reminder to viewers that the show had to sacrifice some of its most intriguing concepts due to financial constraints, and it became nearly legendary among fans. In 1968, during the third season, Batman's review scores plummeted. The sitcom was suddenly canceled by ABC, but just when everything appeared lost, NBC expressed interest in renewing it for a fourth season. Afterwards, an astonishing error became apparent. The creators had previously destroyed the sets, which included Wayne Manor, the Batcave, and Office of Commissioner Gordon. Rebuilding them was predicted to cost several $100,000, which is more than $2 million in today's money. After NBC found out about this, they decided to scrap the plan. A potential savior for the show devolved into one of television's most infamous, wasteful manufacturing mistakes. Fans thought NBC was genuinely considering a fourth season for a long time, but the records show otherwise. The budget was losing money, and ratings had already dropped to an all-time low. For season 3, just 17 episodes were ordered. The season and expensive extras like the Batbow were seldom ever utilized, if at all. The cost of repairing the damaged sets was too great for 1968 television. After a quick inquiry, NBC did not take any more action. The specter of an unrealized fourth season persists. Documents demonstrating its financial impossibility from the beginning, turning it into more of a myth than a reality. Despite Batman's continued popularity, producers had considered creating spin-offs. There was one that was supposed to be a Batgirl series. Filming had already begun for the pilot, but she was ultimately cast in the main series. An additional proposal involved a Robin-centric show, while another proposed a show showcasing other DC characters, similar to an early Justice League. After developing concept drawings and having network talks, a few of these proposals advanced to the pitch stage. The third season of Batman saw the downfall of the show and the destruction of the sets. A spin-off for every franchise was axed. Just days before casting was supposed to start, several were cut. Documents from 1967 and 1968 show that after Batman was cancelled, there was no longer an opportunity to create a bigger superhero universe.